Once upon a time, there was a master who taught his students the importance of silence. He gave them a challenge: they were not allowed to speak unless it was absolutely necessary. The students agreed to the challenge and set out to practice silence. One day, the master took his students to a lake and asked them to sit by the shore. After a while, he pointed out to the lake and said, "What do you see?" The students looked at the lake and saw their reflections. The master said, "This is the first situation where you should always be silent. When you see your reflection, it reminds you to reflect on your actions and thoughts before speaking." The master then led the students to a forest and asked them to listen. They heard birds chirping, leaves rustling, and the wind blowing. The master said, "What do you hear?" The students replied with the sounds they heard. The master said, "This is the second situation where you should always be silent. When you hear the sounds of nature, it reminds you to listen to others before speaking." Next, the master took the students to a farm and showed them a cow and her calf. He asked, "What do you see?" The students described the cow and calf. The master said, "This is the third situation where you should always be silent. When you see the bond between a mother and her child, it reminds you to cherish the connections you have with others." The master then took the students to a marketplace and asked them to observe the busy scene. People were buying and selling, talking and shouting. The master asked, "What do you notice?" The students observed the chaos of the marketplace. The master said, "This is the fourth situation where you should always be silent. When you see the hustle and bustle, it reminds you to find inner calm amidst the external noise." Finally, the master led the students to a cemetery. They saw gravestones and felt a sense of solemnity. The master asked, "What do you feel?" The students reflected on the somber atmosphere. The master said, "This is the fifth situation where you should always be silent. When you see the final resting place of others, it reminds you of the impermanence of life and the importance of using your words wisely." After the students had learned the lessons of silence in those 5 situations, they continued to practice their newfound understanding in their daily lives. They found that by being more mindful of when to speak and when to remain silent, they were able to cultivate a greater sense of presence and awareness. As time went on, the students noticed a transformation within themselves. They became better listeners, more compassionate friends, and wiser individuals. They realized that by choosing their words carefully and embracing silence when appropriate, they were able to communicate more effectively and connect with others on a deeper level. The master observed their progress and was pleased with the growth he witnessed in his students. He reminded them that the lessons of silence were not just about refraining from speaking, but also about understanding the power of words and the significance of nonverbal communication. The students continued to follow the teachings of their master, incorporating the lessons of silence into their daily interactions. They found that by practicing silence in these 5 situations and beyond, they were able to lead more meaningful and harmonious lives, both within themselves and with the world around them. And so, the story of the students and their journey with silence became an enduring lesson in mindfulness, communication, and the wisdom of knowing when to speak and when to remain silent.